Incorrect.
False.
Miami Marlins, 7 in a row. What is happening?
I don't know. Jackson just.
The live stream doesn't even have Jackson on it.
Well, he's on his way back, I guess. Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a good night. We'll get Jackson back eventually. My eternal background. Oh, by the way, look. Do you like my pint glass? Look at how beautiful that pint glass
I
is.
do like that.
Little. Not a bad pint glass. Got it. My dad got it for me. I have a set of 2. Do you like how Roku City's in the background? Just in case anybody wanted to know where I live. Damn, this is tough.
Yeah, he's got 2 screens now, but he doesn't have anything else.
I'll shoot a message over to him. Do you want to get us rolling in some way, shape, or form here soon?
Do I? Oh boy, do I. We've only got 3 viewers, and we appreciate you viewers, but I would like more people to get to be here for our fun conversation, I think.
Okay, we'll wait.
I was looking for something. There it is. Oh, make it 4. Welcome. We do need to figure out how to do like a countdown screen. Like a, hey, welcome to our show. We're going to be there in 5 minutes type of deal.
We'll figure it out.
There he is. Peter Borges is back. He's joined us. Did your internet cut out?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It says my laptop says I'm fully connected, but
it's all good. We'll figure it out.
Idea.
It says that, but it's lying to you.
Usually does.
Let's get started with our weekly wrap up of the MLB standings and who played baseball well this week. Because there's a couple teams that are hot right now in the NL, and there's a couple teams that are not across baseball. And let's start with the teams that are not, so we can get this out of the way. The Mets are struggling. The Mets got lambasted by the Pirates this weekend. Not a good sign for their pitching staff. I believe they got outscored like 30-4 over the weekend. Not good. Like something like that. But on the flip side, the Miami Marlins are one of the hottest teams in baseball. 7 wins in a row, 9 road wins in a row. Still sitting in 4th place in that division. Definitely not where they want to be for the season. But love seeing the Marlins, a young team playing with a lot of energy, very excited, playing well, getting going. Moving on to the NL Central. Cubs are slowing down a little bit here and there, and the Brewers are hot on their tail. 8-2 in their last 10. Playing very good baseball, making some shifts, some moves here and there. I know one of our friends, Baseball Today, was talking about potential trade move for them. They keep playing baseball like this. I don't think they're going to be selling a starting pitcher like Freddie Peralta. I think he's going to have to be the guy that helps them keep moving. Another team, 47-38. Your St. Louis Cardinals are 7-3 in their last 10. We got to talk more about them, and we will talk more about them today, but we got to talk about the transformation from the last couple of years, because for a very storied franchise that was struggling a little bit there, they did a really good job as an organization to retool and not kind of reset. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the work that Chaim Bloom's doing there since he moved into a role. The Dodgers are who we thought they were. They are who we thought they were.
Are you sure?
7-3 in their last 10, 53-32. They are amongst the best in baseball. Flipping over to others amongst the best in baseball, the Detroit Tigers are starting to run away with the AL Central. And I don't know that I thought this was the direction that things were truly going to go about a quarter of the way through the season, but this feels right. The Guardians are not playing their best baseball right now. The Royals' offense is struggling, but they're starting to turn it around here and there. Tigers, again, 5-5 in their last 10, nothing special. Flipping over to the AL West, we all knew this was coming. They are truly inevitable. The Houston Astros, 7-3 in their last 10, won again today. 50 game winners here amongst the halfway point in the season. One of the best teams in baseball. One of only 3 teams with 50 wins. And the AL East, the Tampa Bay Rays, one of the hottest teams in baseball, 6-4 in their last 10. Hottest team in baseball unless they're playing the Orioles. Creeping up on the New York Yankees, only a game and a half out. Where the Yankees held a fairly sizable lead. The Rays 10 games over 500. And the Red Sox continue to struggle offensively, as it was before they traded Devers and as it continues since they traded Devers. Masataka Yoshida starting his rehab. That could be their saving grace. I wouldn't bet on it. But we are here. We are halfway through the season, and we have now begun our live show with what I like to call the fastest 60 minutes. Sorry, the fastest 60 seconds.
That was the fastest 60 minutes of my life.
That's what she said. The fastest 60 seconds in Major League Baseball. That's what we're dubbing that. That's what we have here at the start.
Right.
So for those new to our weekly roundup that we try to do every Sunday night. We will start every episode, and so please get here, on time. We will start every episode with the fastest 60 seconds in Major League Baseball, and it is us recapping the week and the week's shift in the standings of every division in baseball, who's playing well, who's not playing well. And with that, Ryan, break. Over to you.
Let's go. Well,
let's get into it.
First off, I know all of you just want to hear Flax talk some more, but Flax, tell people who you are this week and why it's so important.
I am Shane Victorino this week, and it is incredibly important because I am supporting future Hall of Pretty Good inductee Shane Victorino, the Flying Hawaiian. You win 2 World Series, you hit from both sides of the plate, you wear a double ear flap helmet like Shin-Soo Choo. You've got me in your sights. Please go vote for Shane Victorino. I have no doubt that he is a shoo-in. But Hall of Pretty Good, if you're not following them, go follow them. You will absolutely enjoy it. If you are a longtime baseball fan like us, it will be the only thing that you care about. And the names that they bring back to life are truly incredible. But that's who I am this week.
So I want to add to our Shane Victorino. I don't know, we're giving him his flowers, I guess, but he's Shane Victorino. For all of you who didn't get to watch the Flying Hawaiian, he was something else. He played on these Phillies teams where he was one of the most integral portions of their entire lineup on a regular basis. But what he did in 2013 and on was kind of cool. He was having some issues as it pertains to hitting left-handed due to some discomfort and some injury issues, and he just started hitting exclusively right-handed and was still a very proficient hitter as a righty, to the point where I want to make sure everybody recognizes this. He still slashed in 2013, 294, 351, and 451 as a guy who was switch hitting for the entirety of his career. So go vote yes for Shane Victorino. That's what I've got.
Jackson's internet is just not
Struggling
wanting to
today.
play nice tonight. So you may get a little bit of Jackson. You may not get a little bit of Jackson. I think this now turns us to everybody's favorite subject, which is our men's league recap from today.
Oh,
because
we're doing it. All right.
this is why we do our Sunday weekly roundup, so we can tell all of you about our Sunday games. We only tell you about the good ones. So as far as you know, we haven't lost yet. Ryan hit a ball off the wall today, a 2 RBI double. Ryan pitched well outside of our team giving up a Little League home run. Not great. But we did win. We won 6-5. It was a good day for the boys, a good day for the team.
Flax is over here just telling you guys about what I did. He was 3 for 4 with the triple that was a foot off the top of the fence, and he threw 6 innings of no earned run baseball. So cheers to you, Flax.
I think we were. Your brother in the chat just said, "Get in the gym, Ryan." Coop. I've been telling him
Flax
that.
missed one by a foot. I'm not the one who needs to be in the gym. Mine was at the bottom of the wall. Mine wasn't supposed to go over.
This is fair. Mine was in the air for a full minute and a half, and then I stood on second base for a good 10 seconds because I did not want to run to third. And then the right fielder still didn't pick the ball up, so I had to run to third. I didn't have a choice. Yeah, it is. It's not necessarily warning track power. Let's call it wall power. Coop,
We'll go with that.
We're not far off. It's a high school field. It's certainly not deep. I would love to have said that I hit it over the fence today and shown you a video of it, but I can't, and I didn't. So it is what it is.
Next
but we
time.
want our game. So there's your weekly men's league recap.
On to baseball that all of you may care about. Can we talk about the fact that James Wood was intentionally walked 4 times today?
Yeah. What?
4 straight at bats.
And
Four straight at bats. The Angels intentionally walked James Wood and
insane.
said, "We're not going to let this guy beat us," and they still got beat. That's tough.
And I do real quick want to say this. Obviously, thoughts and prayers to Ron Washington, whatever he's battling. Wish he was in the dugout. This feels like a very Ron Washington move.
I know.
Like, this feels like something he would have done. It feels like maybe this was like an ode to Wash not being in the dugout. It was like he would have just put the guy on and never pitched to him. That's what it felt like to me.
I know. I don't disagree. I love it because it's very obvious that the league is starting to recognize what James Wood is at the dish. And that is a special power hitter. And again, throw out the fact that I'm a born and raised Washington Nationals fan. You don't have to be a fan of the Nationals to see what James Wood has done this year. I mean, he's on pace for around 40 home runs at the current moment. He's going to lead the team in RBIs. And when the game's on the line, he finds a way to come through and hit a ball hard somewhere.
Well, clearly didn't work today. They lost 7-4. James Wood was on base 5 times. I mean, I don't like. Who threw for the Angels today? Let me look.
Kohanowitz, some sinkers.
Oh, you know how I feel about sinkers to lefties.
Especially lefties like James Wood.
Especially lefties who can pop the ball out of the yard backside. Honestly, it's probably the right move not letting Kohanowitz throw him sinkers.
Well, keep in mind his hits came in his first 2 AB. His hit came in his first 2 ABs, so he got his only base hit off Kohanowitz for what it's worth. So
he's back.
How we doing? We'll see how long this lasts. See if we can figure it out.
What? We were talking about James Wood getting intentionally walked 4 times today, and I said it was an ode to Ron Washington, even though he wasn't in the dugout, because it's the type of thing he would have done.
That is the type of thing he would have done. I saw someone interviewing him, asking him about the Moneyball thing, about him being like his character in Moneyball, and he was like, "Yeah, that's 100% accurate." I said all of that, and I was like, "That's awesome."
Yeah, he said that he said that, but it wasn't like sitting in his living room. It was like at spring training.
Yeah, about first
Which
base
is hilarious.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, tell him, Wash. First base is incredibly hard. Oh, what an all-time movie. No, I think seeing that for the Nats from a lineup perspective, I think I'd be more excited as a Nats fan for the fact that the rest of the lineup around him took advantage of it. Right. If he was walked 4 times and they scored 1 run today, and I would be annoyed that he didn't get to hit, but it showed how important he is, and it also showed other teams that you can't just pitch around one guy. You're not going to be successful against us all the time if you just pitch around one guy, because we have other players that can beat you. It also helped that you had a starter who threw and did not give up 6 to 7 runs.
I mean, listen, I totally agree, and the bullpen did enough. I want to give... We're going to sit here and talk a little bit about the Nationals, which I'm never going to be upset about. I do want to give a lot of credit to Kyle Finnegan for really taking the ball at the end of this game. He threw 3 innings for the first time in his entire career.
Yeah.
He definitely wanted the ball in the 11th because they never even considered bringing somebody up to take that inning away from him on a good amount of rest. But he walked out there and he shoved for 3 innings, his longest outing, and really, really made sure that the Nats stayed in that ball game. So kudos to Finnegan. I mean, listen, the other thing that I would call out with the Nats, not just with James Wood, is a guy I've really liked in this organization for a while, getting his first opportunity at, I believe, the ripe old age of 21. We'll have to double check on that here in a moment, is Dalen Lyle. I mean, Dalen Lyle is really, really picking it up for the Nats. He now has had his second multi-hit game in the span of an 8-game hitting streak. Really, really starting to figure it out there. He, again, today was 3 for 5 with the double. He was caught stealing, which he's had a couple caught stealings. Really fast guy, really athletic defender as well. But I love the hair on fire approach. And I've told both of you this before with Lyle. My comp for him at the top is Michael Brantley. His swing is very similar, short, compact, really delivers the barrel well to the baseball as a lefty. Very hard to go down in the zone against him. Those low-riding fastballs are something he can hammer, especially if you leave it too far on the inside. And then, again, another piece of Brantley's game that many would forget just because injuries slowed him down defensively as his career moved on. But Brantley was a very, very good defender early on in his career. Lyle has robbed at least 2 home runs in his first 2 stints at the big league level. I'm very excited to see this lefty in our lineup for a long time. And we're talking about an outfield for the Nationals that at least for the next 6 years could be James Wood, Dylan Cruz, Dalen Lyle. And then you've got a bunch of other great pieces if you're going to rotate people in at DH, though you don't need to because, by the way, James Wood, one of the better defensive left fielders in all of baseball metrically. But we're talking about basically having 3 center fielders and 3 guys who should be able to hit in a top order of a lineup. So I love what I'm seeing from Lyle.
Well,
very excited for Cruz to be back.
And I love there's a couple comments in the chat like Dalen Lyle, like if you watch him and his stolen bases and getting caught stealing, he's sliding past the bag a little bit. I think there's a different level of stealing bases at the big leagues now, and there's a lot more attention paid to catchers and what they do, infielders, what they do. That has really changed the last 2 years. Every catcher's trying to throw it 1.5 feet up the line. Every infielder is holding a tag for an extra 2-3 seconds. It's really fascinating to see how it's changed the game for some different base stealers. And a guy you didn't mention that I think is in this same boat right now is Jacob Young. He's only 8 for 16 on stolen bases. And a lot of them is because they're really making an effort to change the way they approach trying to throw him out, which is throwing the ball up the line a little bit more. And I don't think that he's necessarily aggressive in how he tries to slide to avoid that stuff, but it's really hard to do, and A, do it safely, and B, do it in a way that you're not kind of moving yourself past the bag and over the bag. But his last 5 games at the plate, I want to say this about Jacob Young. He's really starting to hit the baseball, which is good to see because he definitely needed it. He's starting to see the ball better, take some more walks, which is really important for him. And I think it's a guy that team needs to go if he's going to be in the lineup every day because he is a plus defender in center field.
10 for his last 33. People have to remember that he was dealing with an injury coming into the year and has continued to deal with it throughout the year. He is looking healthy and looking a lot more comfortable at the plate. And again, I didn't mention his name in those 3 outfield spots. And that's not because I necessarily believe that he can't win one of those spots. But the Nationals' depth in the outfield right now when it comes to young, talented players and all guys who can play center field is the best way for me to put it. Because don't forget, we're not talking about the fact that Alex Call has been one of the most underrated bench bats in baseball.
Absolutely.
Okay? We're not talking about the fact that Robert Hassel came up and did not look bad at all swinging against Major League pitching and played a good center field. I don't even know what they're going to do with all these outfielders. This is always the joke with why the Padres just draft shortstops. Not saying it always works, but like people just feel like you can move that around a little bit easier than a bunch of outfielders. So great problems to have for the Nationals. But I don't want to stick on this team. We've got Jackson here, and while we have him here, I think we need to talk a little bit about his St. Louis Cardinals.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
Jackson, tell us what's going on out there in St. Louis.
The pitching has been amazing the past couple of days. Sonny Gray, that's what you signed an ace to do. 9 innings, 1 hit, I believe, struck out 11. Threw 5-6 different pitches in the zone. Matthew Liberatore's still been filling up. He's been a good guy for us. The pitching's just been unreal, and you're getting contributions from guys that you didn't expect. I remember in the offseason, Phil Mayton was our first signing, and the whole fan base was sitting there making fun of it. He has I think a 1.70 ERA right now in 35 innings pitched. He's been unbelievable in the bullpen for us. Cardinals have always found a way to get something out of guys you're not expecting to get out of. And they're continuing to do that. They're fighting their way, staying in that NL Central race. And I think I think that race is tighter than people think it is right now.
I think that one thing we talked about all offseason with the Cardinals was this idea that is an organization that refuses to reset. They're an organization that constantly believes that retooling is the right way. And I think what's really hard when you play that game is sometimes you don't retool well because the core of players that you choose to retool around don't do what they're supposed to do. Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, many others were at the top of the list of guys that were supposed to be the next player, right? You think back to some of the struggles they had the first half last year, like Goldschmidt's first half was atrocious. You look at some other guys like Arenado that had not played up to the level that they could have played up to. And I think that part of it is guys like that put a lot of emphasis and a lot of pressure on doing the thing that nobody else is doing. But also, I think when you start to lose games, you just start to see guys play a different way. What is most fascinating about the bounce back year that they had last year and into this year, the way they finished last year and carried it over into this year, is that it's a lot of young guys playing better than you would expect. And Mason Wynn's had kind of an up and down season. His June has not been incredible, but as of late, he's starting to play much better again. And when he's playing well, he's an electric enough player that the rest of the team kind of centers around that effort. You see this across the MLB. When Pete Crow Armstrong gets hot again, the Cubs will be unbeatable. When Junior Caminero is really hot, the Rays are a really hard offense to beat. When Jonathan Aranda, like all those guys on those teams start playing well, and I think that Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, and a couple others are in that boat of guys for the Cardinals that when they start playing well, the rest of the lineup goes.
I think another thing to add to, and I think this is a really good thing to point out, there's two things happening right now for St. Louis over the last 10 to 13 games, last 15 days, maybe the best way to put it. One, Alec Burleson is just demolishing baseballs.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, slashing 296, 298, and a 648 slug. He's hit 5 home runs over his last 13 games, drove in 16 runs for the St. Louis Cardinals. To boot, one of the big issues of late was the fact that Lars Nootbaar has done this. Okay, Nootbaar was down here. He's going this way again. Over his last 10 games, Nootbaar's hitting 242, 375, 545 for a 920 OPS. He's hit 3 home runs. That bat really turning back on for the St. Louis Cardinals is going to be huge. And this is another one of those scenarios where the bats going is going to dictate a lot of the success for this team because the rotation has been very good. The bullpen has been there when they need the bullpen. Now it's going to be, do we have enough impact in the lineup? And for what it's worth, when the Cardinals are buying heavy at the deadline and they go get somebody that none of us are expecting, please don't be surprised, right? We're not going to sit here and jump into crazy amounts of speculation about who they may go after. But that front office is not scared to put out offers during the deadline. And if they think they can make this team better to continue to make run, they will. Now, to boot with that statement, they might think they already have that guy in J.J. Weatherhole. Go look at what that guy's doing in Double-A right now.
Tearing it up.
Tearing it up is that's almost rude of us. We need a better way to describe it with the way he's hitting right now.
I still think he's the top. I said this to Ryan, and I've said this to numerous people. I still think he's the top all-around player in that class. I think raw power from like Nick Kurtz, Jack Caglione is off the charts. I think Connor Griffin is an incredibly good player. I think Bazana's ceiling is really high. But J.J. Weatherholt, across the board, what he can do defensively, what he can do on the base paths, the power that he has, and his ability to hit for contact is so high across the board. I think his ceiling is insanely high.
I remember being absolutely ecstatic that he fell to the Cardinals. I mean, he was a guy that was within 2 weeks of the draft. People were talking about if he would go number 1, and he fell to 7. He's been unreal. Another guy, Quinn Matthews.
Yes,
he's going to be up soon. I don't see a massive ceiling with him, but I could see him being 150 innings, a 3.2 ERA ball pretty consistently, pretty easily. I love
that's a 3 to 5 in any rotation in baseball.
Absolutely, love some Quinn Matthews.
This is a crazy comp, but when I see him throw, you know what I see a lot of is Cole Hamels.
Yeah,
and I think if it's tuned the right way, which I always, and it used to be this way when you had Carpenter and Wainwright on the staff. That was the place where you wanted to be a young pitcher. Like that was the team that would develop arms like you wouldn't believe. And every year it was like, where the heck do these pitchers keep coming from? And now we feel this way about the Rays, and we feel this way about the Mariners, and everybody's got their pitching lab, and the Guardians. If Quinn Matthews can fall into that realm of what the Cardinals have always done with pitchers, they use his stuff correctly. I genuinely think that build and that stuff could meet that same ceiling. It's a different game than when Cole Hamels was pitching, but his stuff, the way he throws, his body movements fits that archetype really well to me. It's just gonna again be how it ends up playing. But he was hurt for a minute there, right? Now he's worked his way back up to AAA and made, I think, 9 starts.
Yeah, I believe so. And this also guy in college, I believe at Stanford threw 145 pitches in the outing. He's gonna fight he's gonna fight so hard on the mound out there, and he has that in the tank. I love that. I remember when he got drafted, that's all I knew about him, and I was like, that's worth getting drafted right there. So
his big issue right now is just his walk to K ratio is like very close to 1-to-1. Yeah. But if he can start tightening it up. But I mean, it's not just him, right? You've got Tink Hence is also there, Cooper Jerp. Like, they have a stable of arms in their pipeline right now that if they did want to go get a guy for this season at the deadline, go get a bat. And I'm not really even sure where that piece is right now. Honestly, maybe a bullpen arm is a better spot for them to kind of go shop around for. But they've got plenty of players that they could move along. They've got 3 catchers in their top 10 right now. You don't need 3 catchers in your top 10.
No.
But if you have 3 catchers in your top 10 and you want to move them around, and they're different levels and they're different ages, but like you want to move them around to try and get some more stuff now or to build the rest of your pipeline around more pitching or other position players, I don't hate that at all.
Especially we've been throwing out 3 catcher lineups right now, where Ivan Herrera will be at first, Wilson Contreras will be DHing, then we have actual catcher starting. So yeah, that's pretty crazy.
The White Sox refused to play a 2-catcher lineup.
Yeah, they refused to have Edgar and Teal. Teal's hitting, I think, 380 or something over his last 9 games.
Dude, he's raking right now.
Love me some Kyle Teal.
You want to see a sweet left-handed swing? Kyle Teal's bat stays through the zone so long. But I don't want to switch. I don't want to switch away from the Cardinals yet, because I do want to say that I don't think this is a flash in the pan better season than it has been the last 2 years, because some guys are playing better. I genuinely think this is the next rise of the Cardinals becoming a dominant team in the NL again. It feels like the pipeline is there. It feels like they have young players who are starting to get their footing in the big leagues. And it feels like that's an ownership group that once the TV stuff starts to flatten itself out, they were really hampered the last 2 off seasons financially because of the way that the TV contracts broke out with Bally's. Once a lot of that gets settled and they start to bring in a better revenue stream through the MLB, I think you're going to start seeing them as uber buyers in the off season, finding the right pieces for longer term deals. They're going to start signing extensions for some guys, and they're going to start moving their way up the mountain a little bit more.
So it's taken me longer than it should have here, but just to give people context of what Weatherholt is doing at the AA level, he has 9 multi-hit games out of the 20 games he has played in June.
Is that good?
9 multi-hit games.
Sheesh.
Every other game, he has multiple hits. To boot, throughout June, he does have 2 home runs, 1 triple, 4 doubles. So it's not like there's no extra base in there either. Weatherholt's bat-to-ball skills at West Virginia were ridiculous, and with no surprise at all to most people, they are translating very quickly to the major league level. He, this year at the AA level, through 246 plate appearances, slashing 307, 431, 457, 5 home runs, 27 RBIs, 13 doubles, and 1 triple. So we're sitting here looking at a guy with 19 extra base hits.
Shout out to the Table Setters Pod. Been going back and forth with them on Twitter between the Connor Griffin, JJ Weatherholt conversation. Also, I saw on Twitter the other day, my man tore his Achilles. heal up, get better. Not great.
no.
The Table Setters pod guy. Yeah,
Oh,
not JJ
no.
Weatherholt. But yeah,
That's worse.
That's-
JJ's got
yeah.
enough people around him. Like, we as just the normal people,
it
as I
doesn't
like
cost.
to think.
If that happens to him, it doesn't cost JJ Weatherholt any money.
Right.
Like, it
that's
costs
where I'm
all of
going
us
with
money to get injured at that level. Maybe not Jackson yet. I think Jackson's still young
Jackson's
enough.
still on. Some
Jackson's
good
still young
shares, for
enough.
sure.
Somebody else is paying for it, but not the rest of us.
Love
Oh,
it.
I like this. So Ethan from Running from the Ops said wanted to get thoughts on Wynn being a more deserving candidate for shortstop than Mookie for the All-Star game. There are also maybe 5 other deserving guys. And we were not necessarily gonna dive into the All-Star game, but I do think we're talking about the Cardinals, we're talking about Mason Wynn, and it's not a bad place to talk about it. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation to be had on All-Star game voting in and of itself, right? Fan voting is gonna direct a lot of this. If you guys remember back in the years, what was it, 2016, 2017 with the Royals,
20
when the Royals,
I think it was 2015.
Yeah.
2015 when the Royals literally had like their entire
7
starting
out of 9
lineup.
were Royals starters.
And it was purely because like Kansas City just got so behind their team that they fan voted them into the game.
It was awesome.
We don't need to have a big discussion about how voting should be because we all agree that it doesn't make sense the way that it's just fans right now. But if you just look at the numbers between what Mookie's done, what Mason Wynn has done, there's plenty of other candidates within the realm of the NL. But where do you guys stand on this? I don't think that I love Mookie Betts. I think he's going to have a fantastic second half. I think Mookie Betts would benefit from not being an all-star this year. And I honestly don't know that he deserves to be an all-star this year when it's all said and done.
I think, in the most honest way, I think Mookie Betts would tell you that himself. I think
You're
Mookie
right.
Betts' standard of what he should be doing offensively and even defensively is so high. Listen, what I see with Mason Wynn, one, you kind of alluded to this earlier, and Jackson, I guess, as a true St. Louis Cardinals fan, I want your feedback on this, right? We are talking about a guy right now who his OPS plus isn't 99, right? Technically speaking, that is one singular point below average at the end of the day. But here's how I look at it. He's made 2. Utah,
Give me
give me
2.
2. He has made 2 errors all year at
Woof.
shortstop. Okay? This is a guy who is playing elite levels of defense
Unreal.
at the hardest position to play in all of baseball. And at the end of the day, though he has one quote-unquote major metric that is under the mark that you'd at least expect it to be, we are talking about a guy who's got a WOBA that is slightly above average against what I think it's going to come out to be this year. I think it'll be less than 310 this year. I think it'll be closer to 307. We'll see what happens. But slashing 259, 323, 391. I'm not going to sit here and say he should be an all-star. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say that I don't know that it should be Mookie, and the shortstop spot in the NL should be so heavily wide open it hurts.
It's
because
crazy.
at the end of the day, I don't know that anybody has necessarily stood out. And the irony is I think the guy who had it bagged and then unfortunately had his cold streak come in at the wrong time was Abrams. Before June, I think it was the second to last week of May, Abrams was still hitting 313, right? And CJ has been an elite player throughout the season. I think right now I would probably have Mason Wynn in over Mookie Betts to answer the question.
Can I tell you who?
I also
who
don't
under
think
the,
that I would have either of them starting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've
you go.
Wynn over Betts too, but I don't know if Wynn's an all-star. He just hasn't slugged enough. That's the main issue for me. I think he's hitting 260. He's playing probably the best defensive shortstop in baseball. Slug just hasn't been there, but I do think he's in over Mookie right now.
I think we have to remember
And-
how unimportant. Obviously, we as baseball people find it very important, but we have to remember how unimportant defense is to being an all-star starter. Like it just doesn't. Even at the shortstop position.
When you've only made 2 errors at shortstop through 70 games,
I hear you.
it has to matter.
I hear you, but
That's all I care about.
I hear you, but we had Jack Wilson on our podcast, and I think even he would tell you that when he was an all-star, it wasn't because of his glove, and he was a perennially phenomenal.
I'm not here to say you're wrong. I'm simply here to say that I think it's ridiculous that
that's
there
the
is a
truth.
level of defense that we have to talk. The truth is offense is all that matters. So C.J. Abrams has got a 139 OPS plus. He's hitting over 280. He's hit 12 bombs, 17 doubles, 2 triples.
If you want to get back into the conversation of fan voting, Nationals fans didn't.
That's where we're at.
If you want to get back into the conversation of fan voting, Nationals fans didn't do what they needed to do to get any of their players voted for.
True.
That's a whole other conversation. But 2 guys we have not talked about. Ellie, absolutely in the conversation. Trey Turner. And I know that
because Ethan of June, by the way.
Ethan and Toby talked about this, but Trey Turner, numbers, just data on the page. Trey Turner is probably the most deserving, which is crazy because every time we lay a bet on him, he goes 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. It is the most absurd. Every time he'll go like 0 for 4 with 3 Ks.
Except that one time for me.
Yes, except the one time for you. Got you back in the green. But we'll bet on him and we'll have like 3 or 4 guys in a hit parlay. Everyone gets a hit in their first at bat. And we'll get down to like the 4th at bat for Trey Turner and he'll strike out on like a 94-mile-an-hour fastball over the middle of the plate. And then I'll go look at his stats and it's like, yeah, he's batting .299. In what world is he batting .299? But all that aside, like when you really look at it,
sounds like the Nationals must really develop shortstops well.
Yeah, right. Trey Turner's probably the most deserving player to be the starting shortstop for the NL when numbers.
CJ's numbers are better.
When numbers are in front of you, but CJ hasn't played as many games.
Lindor is also in the conversation.
Lindor is at the top of the list from a fan vote perspective. Lindor's already got that spot locked up right now. But my biggest problem with Lindor is that his stats are great right now, but they're really great on the whole. And he also has caught a massive cold streak. So it's really hard, right? Like, I mean, this baseball is a game of what have you done for me lately? Ryan is frozen for us. What's with everybody's internet tonight?
So
he's here. We can hear him. He just can't see him.
Speaking
there
of
he
the
is.
Mets, I know they're cold, but Juan Soto is in fact still Juan Soto. If anyone was wondering.
Yeah. Juan Soto is in fact still Juan Soto, which is why Juan Soto was at least within the finalists of All-Star voting. But Juan Soto is so good.
I blinked and he has 20 home runs now. That's all I know.
By the way, for as bad as Soto was, this was the most home runs Soto has ever had in the first 81 games of the season. Well, relatively. Through the first 81 games of the season.
Juan Soto's bat is an over 820 OPS. I want everybody just to recognize that.
He was bad for 2 months at like a 760 OPS, and his like expected batting average is like 330 or something.
Well, he walks more than anybody in history.
Yeah.
He's the only one who's ever made walks look cool. Okay.
Nobody's made strikeouts look cool. Although I will say, in high school, I've never seen anybody pimp a strikeout looking better than my brother. I don't mean that meanly. I mean that very seriously.
What?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But I've never seen somebody pimp a strikeout better than my brother. Like a strikeout looking consistently.
Awesome.
Why?
I don't know. But he pitched the last 2 years in college, so that should tell you something.
That's awesome.
I can't even explain to you how he did it. I just remember every time he struck out looking, I was like, man, he made that look cool at least.
That's awesome.
I need to learn that.
Yeah. Or just not strike out. It's one of the two.
That helps too.
I'm pretty good at that as well.
You know what they say? If you don't want to strike out, put the ball in play before you get to 2 strikes.
Thank you, Flax. For anybody who is looking for your baseball hitting advice of the day, you've now gotten it.
Yeah, you've now entered and left Evan's hitting corner.
That was a quick hitting corner today.
It doesn't always have to be a lot of information. Sometimes it's just got to be the right information.
I love your college baseball is rad hat, but I'm gonna get one that says Evan's corner is rad.
We're gonna make a baseball and Stitch T-shirt, and on the back it's gonna say to boot. We're gonna get another one and on the back it's gonna say Crazy Town.
Yeah, that too.
Oh my!
All right,
goodness.
Flex. Where else are we going with this tonight?
Where to next, other than our Miami Marlins, who I said we'd talk a little bit more about. Miami Marlins have won 7 straight. Miami Marlins are what we would say is going streaking, and they look very, very, very electric. I don't want to say good because I don't know that they look incredible, but they're electric and they're fun to watch. They rode into San Francisco. They went on a West Coast road trip and just started beating up on people. That never happens. Ever. Hayden Birdsong got touched up by the Miami Marlins the other night.
They are, as a team, the Miami Marlins, over their last 10 games, hitting 271.
Whew!
I would like to point out,
As a team, hitting
Wow.
271.
I like to point out they're red hot. Sandy Alcantara has a 7 ERA. Max Mayer's at a 4.8. Yuri Perez is at a 6.2.
And hold on. You want to know
Kyle
why?
Clark at a 5.6. They're
You-
winning games with some of the best starting pitching in baseball being absolutely atrocious. I
It's
feel like
crazy.
And here's why. In their last, I'll sequentially give you the runs they've scored in their last 10 games.
Please.
1-6-0. Okay, now here we go. 5-4-8-12-9-8-6.
Yeah, that helps. That
I
will
mean,
do that.
You could throw me out there with those run totals and you'd have an opportunity to win. I mean, that should be enough for everybody.
It is truly amazing what they're doing right now. And we talked about this. We talked about this at the beginning of the season, right? I was not big on the Marlins being a 500 team or making the playoffs, but I did say they were going to win a lot more games than you expected them to win because they are a fun young ball club. They've won 37 games. They're 8 games under 500. They're by no means a lackluster opponent.
No.
And they are by no means a team that you can just dog walk. Those teams exist. I'm going to go try and see the Rockies' 20th win this week. But the Marlins are certainly not that team right now. And it is so wild when you look back at these scores, you look back at who they played in these games. There was no world in which these were easy wins. To go on the road after taking 2 of 3 from Atlanta, which Atlanta's starting to play better baseball as well. You take 3 from San Francisco, 3 from Arizona, and now you're headed home to play Minnesota and Milwaukee. If you don't think that this Miami Marlins team could take this streak to 10 against Minnesota at home, and it might be that their pitchers get a little feel from the juice and the vibe and go throw really well for the next couple of days.
We'll say this, Edward Cabrera been shoving.
Dude, his changeup is so good.
I mean, you need somebody, right?
Edward Cabrera, so good.
And if you play MLB The Show, you've known about Edward Cabrera for at least 3 or 4 years now. You've known the name. You've faced him a couple times.
I love how video games help us just know who people are.
That's part of the reason I have a Rolodex of baseball players and football players in my head is simply just because I played Madden franchise MLB The Show growing up. And I'll be like, oh, I traded for this random guy 3 years ago. Now I know who he is. Crazy.
So, Edward Cabrera's changeup has 17.5 inches of horizontal run arm side.
Is that good?
It has 26.8 inches of vertical drop. Okay. And it's just gross. So, look, it's his most used pitch. Of course, it's got to be gross. You can't be having that be your most used pitch at the MLB level if it's not. But he has a really, really nice decline in IVB from his four-seam fastball to sinker to changeup, right? The only thing that always scares me with him, and this is what at times allows some of his other pitches to be more hittable, is that the difference in velocity between his changeup, his sinker, and his four-seam fastball is only 3 miles per hour. But what makes it work so much, just so everybody knows, is the changeup makes everything else more effective because he does throw it 24% of the time, and it's his highest used pitch. So when you are so heavily moving the changeup sinker around, and then when you do finally throw that four-seam fastball with a little bit more run and slightly more velocity, it just makes that pitch look that much harder. It gets on you that much better. I really like what he is doing of recent. absolutely shoving. He's a guy who continues to, even at 27, have so much upside as he continues to learn how to truly be a pitcher. I mean, the pitchability for him is there, and he's really continuing to show that.
Can I throw a name out or two names out to you
Please
guys
do.
that are also really important reasons why this team is?
If you say Stowers and Norby, I'm going to be so happy.
If you
Well,
say the name,
one of-
I'm about to say.
One of them is Kyle Stowers.
I have another name too. If you don't say it.
And you're probably going to use the better name than I wanted to use, but I happen to be on Stowers' page first. 321, 472, 786 over the last 8 games. What do I got here? The last 8 games, hits in 7 of 8, including 3 home runs in that stretch, 4 doubles, 6 RBIs. This is a man who is on a mission, a 234 WRC plus and a 516 WOBA. When he's going in the middle of their lineup, he accounts for a lot of runs. He scores a lot of runs. He's scored in that span. He has scored 9 runs
Yeah.
in the last 7 games.
What is so fun about Kyle Stowers, and as the trade happened last year, Rogers
2 years ago.
2 years ago, Rogers first name
Rogers
Trevor,
Norby for Trevor Rogers. Trevor
for
Rogers.
Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby.
2 years ago, was it last year?
It was last year. I
It
believe.
was last year. Oof.
One of the big knocks on Stowers was the fact that he's a reverse splits lefty. Which, by the way, just in case everybody was curious, still a reverse splits lefty. He's hitting 311 left on left.
It's crazy how
Okay?
good he is left
So
on left.
we're talking about a guy who can stay on the baseball at a very, very high level. He's also now hit all 13 of his home runs against righties,
Ooh.
right? Stowers is showing the ability to hit versus righties, but this is something that looks like it's continuing to improve throughout his career. And we're just watching the development of a young player who is absolutely potentially electric. And he's showing that this year. And the Marlins situation is giving him a platform to show everybody really what he can do, hitting in the middle of that lineup. It's been fun to watch him, and he's taken some really good at-bats against some really good pitching this year, too. We all saw what he did against Mason Miller in a huge spot earlier this year. So kudos to Stowers on that. Who's your other guy, Jackson?
My other guy's reliever, Anthony Bender.
Oh, we're not talking about the same guy. Nice.
That's
I got
what-
another guy.
That's right, 2.27 ERA this year.
Ooh.
1.4 WAR as a reliever before July is
Whoa.
pretty tough to do.
Holy smokes.
And he strikes nobody out, but just gets everybody out. So love
It's
it.
Danny
Bender's
Coulomb. Danny Coulomb to a T. Just a lot of soft contact.
Yeah, his most used pitch is his sweeper.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, he comes from that sidearm, a little bit of a funky angle. It's just 17 degrees, so it's slightly above full sidearm. You guys know I love this. 8 run value on his sweeper at the current
Good
moment.
Lord.
He has thrown that pitch 100 more times than any other pitch in his arsenal. Last year, he only threw it 2 more times than his sinker. This year, he is pacing to throw it as much as he's ever thrown it in his entire career, and it is one of the best pitches in baseball right now.
Hopefully he's got an arm left by the end of the season.
You would be surprised. From the side, it is not nearly as hard to spin the baseball. For a lot of these guys from the side, as I've told you before too, even for myself, it doesn't feel bad. But again, expected batting average right now is 139 on that pitch. The actual batting average on that pitch right now is 069 and a 121 slug.
Oh, my God.
25.5% whiff rate and a 26.2% K rate. It's been his best put away pitch, though he is not striking out a ton of people. When he's thrown it in 2 strike counts, it's been a put away pitch 22.2%.
Do you think there's a consistent spray chart on how that pitch gets hit by righties and lefties, and that's why the expected is higher than the actual? Like they're positioning themselves appropriately because the expectation of how that pitch is going to get hit is so predictable?
I've often seen if an actual batting average is that low, expected doesn't go that low.
Oh.
So like
Okay.
that, and it's like
something
some
new.
expected stats sometimes just won't go that low because they're projecting like sometimes flares and stuff that are never hits
Right.
are going to project to be hit slightly more often in expected scenarios. So like that's why his expected stats is low, but it's not as low just because
Right.
it's like, yeah, unless you're
Okay.
striking everybody out, your expecting batting average is still going to be probably around 100.
That's fascinating.
This is what we talk about too, and we had a very long discussion about this when it came to how we would potentially fix Devin Williams. But this is what I talk about when you have an elite type breaking or off speed pitch out of the bullpen when guys are only going to see you for 1AB in an entire series. This is why you can throw a sweeper 45% of the time and make everything else better. Right? It's okay that they know they're going to get the sweeper. Right? Now, if you have the ability to locate that sinker with good arm side run in on a hitter, not much they can do about it. Right? He combos this with his next most thrown pitch as a slider, which is tighter, harder, and more horizontal, right? But it actually ends up similar to, ironically, what I do. It plays as more of a cutter.
Well,
right?
I was going to say if you spin both of them at a high rate
Can't tell the difference.
and you tunnel them, you cannot tell as a hitter which direction it's going to go.
Yep.
You have an idea, but just knowing in the back of your mind that the potential the ball could come in on your hands as a righty and not move away from you or vice versa totally changes the way you form that at bat.
In 45% of the time, he's somewhere in the 84.1% region with that sweeper, okay?
Wow.
And then another 22% of the time, he sits around 87 with the slider. And then he goes sinker 96 on your hands.
Huh? That's gross.
Say that again. Sinker 96 on your hands. That 96 looks like 110 with movement.
I feel like
After
if you're
all
coming
you've
out of the
seen
pen,
is 84 to 87.
I feel like if you're coming out of the pen and you throw a fastball that is not sinking or cutting, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't be throwing a four-seam fastball out of a bullpen.
You got no. You have
Unless
to be
it's
throwing
100
100.
too.
Sorry,
yes.
yes.
100
Yes.
plus. Then we're talking different.
Sure. But also,
But everybody's
like,
throwing 100 plus movement right now. So
right, yeah. No,
Chase
this is
Shores,
true.
baby, shout out LSU Tigers.
I'm gonna go with another hitter, and I love that we're really talking about the Miami Marlins because we're gonna talk about him on the podcast episode tomorrow. Podcast episode is gonna come out. We have another one that's out right now. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's on YouTube. I know a lot of you out there are listening to our show right now. If you enjoy the way that we interact around baseball, we talk with each other, we talk about this stuff. We put a new episode out every single Tuesday. You'll see the tweets about it. Go give it a listen. Don't have to listen to the whole thing. Just pick and choose which parts you're most interested in. We generally lay it out pretty well in the description on all those platforms as well. But another guy I want to talk about, Otto Lopez. This is not a new name. This is a
Right.
guy that has high expectations. He's on a 9-game hitting streak. 432, 488, 649. A 491 WOBA and a 217 WRC plus over that period. 2 bombs, 9 runs, 13 RBIs in his last 9 games. 16 for 41. His June as a whole, he's hitting 303 with a 127 WRC plus, 4 bombs, 16 runs, 20 RBIs in the month. So they've got him slotted in the right spot in the lineup right now. It's the kind of guy that I could see them giving an early extension to because of he's one of those guys that could just bring electricity to a lineup when he gets going. If this is not lightning in a bottle and this is what we think he could be, this is a guy that could propel this Miami Marlins team for a little bit longer in the future. Peter Bendix is a smart guy. He's got a lot of good people around him. It's not a shock that the guy who said he wanted to spend money and didn't spend money is still putting together a ball club that is hunting down 500 right now, which is higher than I expected them to be at. I expected them to be a lower third team that was working really hard to just win games and play really exciting baseball. But
How did the Miami Marlins acquire Otto Lopez?
What team was it from?
He was initially a Toronto Blue Jay when
my
he
boy Rocky,
made
my boy Rocky on Twitter would know this like that.
when he made his debut. He debuted with the Toronto Blue Jays. However, the Miami Marlins did not get him from the Toronto Blue Jays.
Who'd they get him from?
They got him from the San Francisco Giants.
Wow.
He was designated for assignment, and then the Blue Jays, or not the Blue Jays, I'm sorry, the Marlins traded for him to secure that they could get him. What did the Miami Marlins trade? And this is a trick question.
Player to be named later.
Cash?
Cash considerations.
Okay.
It's always cash.
Our second favorite option.
Yes. Cash considerations, baby.
Cash considerations for a guy that Flax just out loud said maybe we should look at giving an extension early. That's awesome.
I raise you
The way the level at which he could play to, his ceiling, I truly believe is higher than most people give credit.
Good defender too. Baseball.
I'm not saying you have to give him a lot of
right?
money. I'm not saying you got to give him a large contract, but giving a guy a 5-6 year deal at low money per year just to lock him in and start to build a core is not a crazy move. Depends what your organization's willing to spend.
Love to know what the Giants spent that money on, though.
A new copy.
Buster Posey, and it's all okay.
Right. Probably Buster Posey's contract.
Good move. Yeah, Otto Lopez right now, favorite stat in baseball for me, 320 WOBA. He has an expected WOBA of 374.
Let's go.
Guy's a dog.
Ball knowers.
Yeah,
I like the conversation around the Marlins. We this week put out our first installment of a 3-part installment of our MLB draft big board. We posted numbers 21 through 30. Did I get the numbers right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, there we go. That is it's a hard math equation to do, get those numbers out there correctly. But we put out numbers 21 through 30. We will be breaking those down, the three of us, on the podcast episode that drops on Tuesday. And we will also be digging into the AL Cy Young conversation, which I know I kind of wanted to get to tonight, but it felt like it would just take up the whole space. So we'll have to talk about it on the podcast episode tomorrow.
Let's end it with this, and people will hear more of our thoughts on the podcast this week about this group of players. And I'll go first to give you both an opportunity here. Favorite guy in that 21 through 30 region? I know Jackson already knows who his answer is. I'll go first just to give Flax some time to.
I have an idea in the top of my head, but you go ahead.
I'm Quentin Young. There's no question for me. That swing is meant to do damage. I understand, like many high school players, there's some swing and miss concerns. That man has arguably the best true pop in this entire draft with a body that will continue to fill out. He's got MLB pedigree with, I believe his uncles are Delman Young and Dimitri Young. I believe it's his uncles. I love everything about this kid. Very versatile defender, extremely good athlete. And when he hits the ball, it is a sight to behold. So, Quentin Young, we love you, man. Go get it. Jackson, who's your guy? Tell everybody about him.
Riley Quick, Alabama's Friday guy.
It's not who I thought he was going to say.
Who'd y'all think I was going to say?
I knew who you were going to say.
I know who I'm going to say. It's who I thought you were going to say. But go ahead.
Riley
Keep going.
Quick, Friday night guy from Alabama. Favorite Riley Quick fun fact was a 4-star offensive lineman coming out. He has great stuff. He's thrown 3-4 pitches, been up to 99. I think he has a good body. I think this
if you tell people what that frame is, by the way, let them know.
I believe he's 6'6", 250. I think this is a guy who has a very low ceiling or very high ceiling. I think he's an MLB reliever, but I think he has starter upside. He's thrown 4 or 5 pitches this year as a starter for Alabama. This is not a guy who's out there just throwing fastballs, getting people out. He was mixing it up a lot, throwing balls, throwing strikes in the zone. He's rated a little bit lower on a lot of people's boards. I love Riley Quick. I think he should be a top 30 pick. Love the guy.
In the South, when they refer to people as a hoss, Riley Quick.
He's a hoss. He's a hoss.
I thought you were going to say Caden Bodine, so I wasn't going to say him. But Caden Bodine's in my first my first 10. I think that he's the kind of guy that you could see getting drafted early, signing an underslot, only because of the position that he plays. He's a switch hitting catcher. His defensive prowess, to me, screams the kind of guy that you get him a little stronger, get him a little older, and the chances that he could start popping balls out and potentially just keep putting him in the gap at the professional level is almost a given. More than likely, he probably goes in the comp round after the first 30. That would be my guess. He is an insanely high rated talent, but that was my guy, Caden Bodine. He's only what 5'10", 210,
Yeah,
but he's
something like that.
out of Coastal Carolina. For those that don't know, shout out ESPN senior writer who saw him for the first time all season at the College World Series. Still one of the craziest tweets I've ever seen. Senior writer
At
for
least-
college baseball for ESPN tweets, first time seeing Caden Bodine, lives up to the hype during the College World Series.
Coastal Carolina was top 15 all year.
One of the best teams in college baseball.
Kane Bodine has been on draft boards since his freshman season.
He was the one of the first guys we talked about in the offseason of guys to watch going into the college baseball season.
He's gross.
I was
He's
literally
really good.
sitting on my parents' couch. I flipped on a Coastal game and I looked at my dad and I said, "This kid is really good." And the next pitch, he parked one, and I said, "Knower of ball, right here." But no, I mean he is so good. And then everybody's talking about his defensive stuff because his defensive glove work is incredible. I posted a video that he did with the NCAA social accounts at the College World Series where he talked through his process of working with different pitchers to align himself to get more strikes. His knowledge and understanding of his pitching staff, just in that small 2-minute conversation, is the level at which guys at good big leaguers handle a pitching staff. Their ability to know and understand their guys and their ability to work within what they bring to the table and have to offer to make them as good as they can be. If you think that Morrison, Eichhoff, and Flukie didn't have incredible years because Caden Bodine stole an insane amount of strikes for them and made it fairly easy for them to work ahead of hitters and use their entire arsenal, you were not watching them play baseball. And if you didn't watch them play baseball, I feel bad for you because they were incredibly fun to watch all season long. It was not a fluke.
Didn't watch the baseball.
It was not a it was not like a fluke mid-major made the College World Series final. This was a really well-built ball club that is going to continue being good in the near future. It's very fascinating when you kind of look at the way that they were talked about across college baseball, and it seems that the SEC bias will never go away. They buy it. They buy the SEC bias. There's a reason my college baseball's rad hat is teal. It's because they didn't have it in the green color that is Hawaii baseball.
All right. Well, with that,
But I might need to reach out to Big Donkey, Steven Schock. Shout out Big Donkey Brand. That's where this hat's from if anybody's wondering. Go hit up Big Donkey Brand. No free advertising, but go hit up Big Donkey Brand to get your college baseball is rad. They also have a college softball is rad hat as well. If you're more into the softball game, we love college softball as well. An elite level of sport. That's all I got for tonight.
Shout out Bree Ellis, Arkansas. Was the best player in the country this year. She is gross.
Yeah,
just don't pitch to her.
in a
Literally
nice
just
way.
don't pitch
Be
to
careful. I don't think you can say
in
that
a nice
about
way.
women's
Very
sports.
good. Very good at softball.
Moving right along from all of that jazz.
Welcome
to Late Night Sundays with the Baseball Unstitched crew. Thank you guys so much again for joining us. Keep in mind, a lot of consistent content drops for us. Mondays, the Scudder Report's going to be out, so you guys will get to see all of Jackson's thoughts from the last week. On
Trevor Rogers, baby.
He will be on there. Of course, podcast comes out every Tuesday morning on your favorite platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you like to listen to us in your favorite listening channel. But past that, we appreciate all you guys. Keep in mind that we're around. We're on Twitter. Make sure you come around and say hi, interact with the content. Make sure you go follow Jackson Scudder over here if you're not also already following him. That man right there does the data analytics and stats for us on most things. So we like him. I don't know. You should follow him. That's really where I'm going with this.
I don't know how this happens, and I know we're finishing up. I don't know how this happens every time we do a live stream. Me and Jackson are switched on yours, and you point to me
Yeah.
every single time you're talking about Jackson. So from now on, whenever you want to talk about Jackson, point at me, because it'll go to him.
Jackson.
Which, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. There it is.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, because I have to deal with these two fools, good night.
Baseball and Stitch after dark.